and blah 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 and this and that, and to understand it ain't working. We had to do that. We had to. But now that you have access, now that you have access, and now that you know, and you have a resource, the question is, what will you do? And you don't have to verbally answer that question because your actions will speak for you from here on out. It will show. It will show. So I thank you each one of you for being committed. I thank each one of you for the work that you put in already. I thank you for being on time. I thank you for. I just thank you for locking in. I think you see the value in what we're doing. And everybody's not going to go along for the ride. Everybody's, it's not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for the people that want to win, but it's not going to be for everybody. So I'll be quiet, not Clint. But I just I wanted to kind of preface everything we're doing with a few words because a lot of people might not understand the gravity of what we're doing. This is bigger than you can ever imagine, and you have the unique opportunity to be first in something that's cataclysmic as far as the retail trading space. I I can't share with you everything that I know, but what I can share with you is that I've never led any one of you astray. Everything that I told you I was going to do, I've done. Everything, all the help that I can give you, I had given you. You are in the best place at the best time. And if you believe that, if you believe you're in the best place at the best time, I just want you to type a one in the comments. If you believe you're in the best place at the best time, right here, right now, in this moment, with each counterparts on this call, right now, in this moment, if you believe that, if you truly believe that, you're locked in, committed. I just want you to type some one in the comments because I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, your life will never be the same when you get this information right. So, with that being said, Clint, I'll turn it over to you. I'll be quiet and I'll keep checking people.
So I used to refer to some of the stuff that I did in different educational circles. One of my professors used to say about me that if you spend a couple of afternoons about me, you would never be the same. I think that was the positive side of the equation. The negative side of the equation was my mom used to say that a couple of afternoons with me would mess you up so bad that no one would recognize you. And so I don't know what spin to really put on that, but it's definitely going to change the way you think about things. Did anybody take the opportunity to check out the document that we talked about, The Secret of Oz by Bill Still? If you've taken the opportunity to watch that documentary, and if I failed to mention it last week, I guess Courtney, you could remind me. I speak to several different groups at several different levels. But if you want to get an idea of this zero-sum game that Courtney spoke about, I consulted on a documentary. The documentary it's based on the children's book or the show that we used to watch. The Wizard of Oz is, of course, the name of the movie, is the name of the book. But the documentary is The Secret of Oz by Bill Still. And so you can get on YouTube, you can get the full-length documentary. It's like 2 hours long. And it describes things about banking and brokerage, perhaps that you've never really thought about. Where else do we see Oz? That two-letter word or abbreviation, OZ. Where else do we see that in the financial world? Right, it's the abbreviation usually of some kind of metals that we trade for ounces, right? Ounces of some particular precious metal. And so we'll talk about that ounce, right? Usually troy ounces when we're talking about measuring gold bullion or something to the effect. And when I watched The Wizard of Oz, of course, as a youth, it was a children's movie, right? And, it was cute. And Dorothy, whether she made it to Oz or didn't make it to Oz, and the emerald, all the wonderful things and magical colors of when that movie was put together. But when I learned it as a financial allegory. Is the word allegory a part of your vocabulary? When I was growing up, allegory didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know what the word even meant. I had to go look it up. And so much like a parable would be talked about, it's like an allegation. An allegory is something like something, making a statement about something. So a financial allegory is a children's story that has financial principles and ideas behind the scenes. Now, why is this important? Do you realize that things have shifted, perhaps? I don't know the age or the demographics of everyone in here, but things have shifted somewhat from your youth into where you now look at finances in today's world, where we used to be in what was considered to be the Industrial Revolution, which became the Information Age. And all of this technology, when you bought something and it said made in China or made in Japan, that was kind of thought as inferior product. It was something that was a knockoff that was made in another country. But now when you buy electronics, does made in Japan, does it mean the same thing it did back then? If I buy something that's Toshiba, does that mean that that's an inferior product, or does that mean that they have mastered things in the areas of technology over time? And when we think about imports and exports, and what we used to in the United States, if you did get yourself a good education and got yourself a good job and worked for the factory and that type thing, you usually didn't change jobs. You may grow up in the same region or state, and you didn't travel a lot. I'm talking maybe about on the actual way, right? Getting quite a bit of feedback back here to some of the buttons. Yeah, I think Courtney. Now maybe. It appears I am unmuted and I'm back to permissions. Oh, okay, we're back to permissions. Super. So when we look back at being the great creditor nation, we had jobs, we had money, we had wealth, we had everything going for us. The American for the rest of the world was, you come to the United States, that is something that's going to allow you to participate in things that you couldn't even dream of in other parts of the world. I use the analogy, if you remember, in one of our introductory sessions, when we used to go out and dig in the sandbox, and we were digging in the sandbox or digging in the backyard, as young boys do, digging for buried treasure. I don't know what we were digging for, but we were digging. And did your parents ever tell you, you better be careful because if you dig too deep, they end up where? If you keep digging and you're digging and digging and digging, if you keep digging, you're going to end up in China. In China, absolutely in China. And so, of course, that fascinated some of us. I don't know if they told us to get us to quit digging or if they told us because they needed a deeper hole. Because if you're like me, if somebody told you if you kept digging, you'd China, I'm like, man, I got to try this theory. And even if it's wrong, I'd try it twice just to prove it was still wrong. And so I would wonder, of course, as a young, inquisitive young man, what did they tell the young children in China? Be careful because if you dig too deep, you're going to end up in the United States. How many of them are digging, right? And so it's like that was the dream, was to pursue coming to America, right? And so you're in America, you're in the wealthiest nation in the world. Actually, it's now shifted. The United States is considered now. It's just better nation in the world. The dollar doesn't hold that value that it once held. And so now this is all about mindset. It's all about mindset. If somebody would for me type the number 1700, put the comma, 1, 700. Very good. All right, so that's $1,700, right? That's $1,700. If we were to add 000, comma 000, comma 0000000, had 1,700 with 12 zeros after it, does anybody know what that number is? One, physically, what do we call it? So count back the zeros from the other direction, and your thousands, your millions, your billions, your trillions. If I've got 1,700 trillion, they've actually started at quadrillion. It's quad because 1,700 takes up 4 spaces. Quadrillion. 21 trillion is not even the interest. Yeah, 1,700 is not even the interest on all of the debt that's out there. And we're talking global. This is not just the United States. We didn't create it. We're not going to fix the problem, even if we make America great again. We're not going to fix that problem. That problem is forever there. And so we need to keep that in mind. It's a crazy number. It's crazy to even get your mind around that. And so we used to talk about the mathematical equation. Have you ever read the mathematical equation? Is a dollar every second. If you spent a dollar second, it would take you 11 days to spend a million. It would take you 17 years to spend a billion. This is a dollar every second. And if you continue spending at that rate, it would take you over 17 centuries and $1 trillion. So we can't even get our heads around that. I mean, it's so mind-boggling. There's not that much money in circulation. And we're dealing with a small fraction of that. We're talking about the foreign exchange. We talk about $5.3 trillion. $5.3 trillion, $5.1 trillion, depends on which report you read. It's gone down a little bit from 2013 to 2016. Amber it includes what's known as a future, some other number. Okay? reason that that is important is you are trading in arenas that add up to be about a third of that. Somewhere between 1.7 trillion a day is what physically trades in hands. And we talk about it. I want everybody to write the word liquid. That's a QU, right? LIQUID, liquid, into the chat. Liquid. The foreign exchange market is the largest liquid market in the world. Have you ever heard that statement? It is the largest liquid market in the world. It dwarfs all different exchanges, stock markets, equity markets added together. So if you remove the word liquid from the statement, foreign is the largest liquid market in the world. Do you know what the largest market, remove the word liquid, what the largest market in the world is? The foreign exchange, it dwarfs. If you put the New York Exchange together with Nikkei 225, along with the CAC 40, along with the FTSE, along with the Hang Seng, along with all of these stock exchanges around the world all together, all of the stocks together are less than the foreign. You add them all together, they're less than the foreign exchange. But I'm telling you that the foreign exchange, if you remove the word liquid, is not the largest market. The largest market in the world is debt. In the United States, we would call it the bond. Not James Bond, but bond, right? BOND. In the UK, they call it BUND, bund. And so they have a different way of financing their debt. The debt is actually larger than all of the cash out there floating around. Now, whether you want to think of it or not, then we'll just go ahead and give a shout out to the NSA. Go ahead and do it now, because I'm talking about things that as soon as I put two words in the same sentence, they're all over it. It's called metadata. I do not think that Mr. Snowden was an individual that committed treason. I actually worked just down the cubicle from him, met him before he became the whistleblower that he knows, and had access to a lot of the same classified and beyond information that he had and talked about. So NSA, they do their job, they do what they do, but they mine data, what they do. When we have a conversation in the areas of national security, if we use word somehow a threat to national security, they notify the appropriate people, and they go out and they make sure that those individuals don't carry out some kind of negative, funny business, okay? If you were able to hit the market without loss, do you think that that would be a national security issue? If you were really able to trade the market without loss, if I could train of 1,000 people that everything that's like having the Midas touch, everything you touch turns to gold, do you think that would actually be a national security? And you're spot on, it would. Absolutely would be a problem. It would be what they call a disruptive technology. So I'm telling you, because I've trained over 750,000 students directly around the globe. And if I told all 750,000 of them to buy slots on a currency pair at the same time, what would that do to them? If 750,000 people entered an order to buy one lot, that would crash the system. The physically could not handle the order. It would create a domino effect that would shut down the entire world's economies tomorrow morning. Now, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. Not suggesting we do that. I'm not suggesting we try to corner the market. I'm just trying to say information that you have your hands on becomes very, very actually could be considered a climatic issue. What if you were making too much money? Oh my goodness. Has anybody ever received a phone call from your bank that said, Mr. whatever your name, on the blank, do you realize that your account is only insured for $250,000? We're going to need you to move some money. I don't know if that's a problem in your world, but it's a consistent problem in my world. So they have to know, one, where are they from the time they're printed, in circulation, the ones that are physically being handed from hand and moving the markets. They want to know where those dollars are. Okay? I'm going to plant a stake right there. That's mindset. Anything else we've said to this point falls into the category of things that make you go, scratch your head. Think about it. Sit up in bed in the middle of the night. Oh my God, did he just say what he just said? Because I'll tell you right now that over the next 72 hours, the NSA is going to be scratching their head and saying, is this a problem? Is this a threat? Or is this just a fictional understanding that has opened their eyes? Okay, we're planting a stake. All right? Now, I have to get this disclaimer out of the way. Because it lets you know what we're going to do and what we're going to do. It lets you know what's allowed and what's not allowed. I've talked to Courtney a few different times. Courtney, excellent question, wrong venue. Because there are questions that you could ask me that I physically could not tell you because it would create harm for you to know the answer to the question. So I draw the line because I'm not going to do any harm to you. So sometimes it's not that I don't know, it's that you can't know without the problem in your life. Okay? All right. Now the ears of the say is all perked up, so let's go ahead and give them the disclaimer while they're listening. Okay? So the A oversees the CSA that oversees the CAD. Range is a commodity. They see it as a commodity. Orange juice or pork belly. Anybody ever watch the old show Trading Places? Got Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, G the Kung Fu Grip. Can you remember it? That dates us a little bit, right? Takes us back there a little bit. But that's a commodity is, right? So foreign exchange trading, Forex, has large potential rewards, but also large potential risk. You must be aware of the risk and be willing to accept them in order to invest in the foreign exchange market. Before deciding to participate in foreign exchange trading, you should carefully consider investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. Ever consider yourself having an appetite for risk and actually having to figure out what is exactly my appetite for risk? So don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. Come back to that in a minute. This is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy or sell foreign currencies, and no decision is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to this here. The past performance of any trading or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. So when I said don't trade with money you can't afford to lose, you're trying to decide whether to fund a brokerage account or pay your rent. If you're trying to decide whether to gamble with your kids' college fund, call the helpline. They have Gamblers Anonymous for that. Trading is not gambling. Trading is trading that leads to investing, that leads to financial security. Trading is trading, which leads to investing, which leads to financial security. Put that in your notes. How many of you went and got your notebook? How many of you have your notebook in front of you right now? Put a one in the chat box if you're taking notes and you have a dedicated notebook just for that. Okay. All right. One of those subjects, I don't think you actually got a subject, but for those of you that did get the 3 or 5 subject notebook like we talked about, give yourself kudos, put a 2 in there. Put a 2 in there. Yes, I've got subjects. Still trying to decide which subject it goes in, but I did take your advice. Those are the ones that are serious. If I, as a professor, told you to go get a textbook and you came to my hall without that text, I know which ones are serious and which ones are not serious. Tell by what book you brought into my classroom. If you brought your cell phone into my classroom and you're texting or catching up on your social media, or worse, not sexting. I hope there's nobody sexting while you're in here in my session. I guess we'll call you out. If there's any sexting right now, put a 3. And we don't see any 3s, Courtney. So what we're doing is we're focusing our efforts. We're focusing our efforts. It's the world we live in, so we got to talk about it, right? That'll do more than make the NSA scratch their head and say, they'll not be saying, oh yeah, who's doing that? So we'll keep it PG, I promise, Courtney. So with the disclaimer here, I want to go ahead and have you drop into the chat room the 441. So it's 441. I'll do it as well. Courtney will do it as well. So if you could, everybody, this is the one place I'm as close to possible as 100% precision. So the regulators can go back and look at it and say, hey, you mentioned things there, but I did give you a disclaimer. I'm not going to be recommending any trades, although more so next week, we build upon this foundational knowledge. We're going to spend more time trading next week. And so this is the foundational. I'm following the model. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to tell I told you. So there's 3 stages. If you get going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you. Next week we're going to be talking about what I just told you. All right? So it's the 3 is we're going to be spending time on mindset. That's what we've been doing. An hour of each of us are going to be mindset. I understand different ones learn differently. And until you physically click the button, that is not experiential learning. If you're one of those individuals who physically give me that, I can't tell you over the phone how to program your smartphone. You have to have the smartphone in your hand, looking at it, walking through it, giving you the instructions for it to be hands-on experiential learning. If you're an experiential learner, put a 3 in that. If you are one of those people, your numbers, you don't have to write them down. You don't have to calculate them. You just see them. You've got a beautiful mind. You are a genius when it comes to numbers. If we have any of those in here, put a 4 into the chat room. I see numbers. What was the movie then? Sixth Sense? I see dead people. Unfortunately, I'm not in that category. I see numbers. I see equations. I see patterns. I see anybody ever go out in the dark of night, look up at the starry sky. It's a little harder to do in today's world where there's so many an ambient places, but where you would go out and you would actually identify the constellations. There's the Big Dipper. There's the Little Dipper. Yeah, if you grew up in a country, you might remember doing that. What if you could layer on your back and physically map the stars of the universe? Do you know that there's computer models now that can do that? Now, there's another good one, right? To see the shapes in clouds. And, well, that's Dumbo right there. Obviously, that's amazing. And that one over there, that's a snake. Now, there's a snake. That's Dumbo. What's that one? That's Mickey Mouse. There's, oh my gosh, I think I see Jesus. There's Jesus. And but be able to see shapes and images, right? If you could start seeing those patterns in charts, the patterns in a chart, well, can you right now, anybody know anything about harmonics? First time I read the word harmonics, I was in microcircuitry electrician school, and they were showing this in a load-bearing circuit and a non-load-bearing circuit. They were showing us the difference in the patterns of the frequencies of a load-bearing. What was it? Was it a transistor or a diode? Well, if you don't know anything about microcircuitry, those don't make any difference to you. The one lets electricity flow one way, and another one let it flow both ways. They're kind of like the difference between AC and DC circuitry. And so, it's amazing things that they packed into my mind over the last 35 years. How does that come into play? Well, when we're looking at charts, and let's just for a moment drop this down out of the way and take a couple of charts as examples. Don't let things on the charts confuse you. Just look at the patterns. If we're looking at the candle patterns, overall, this pattern up top here, would we say that the bulls or the bears have been primarily in charge for the last 2 to 3 hours? Is that the bulls or the bears? All right. So if we look at this bottom chart down here, and same thing over the last hours, who has predominantly been in charge of this bottom chart? And we've got the bears. So we've got the bulls. If we think of these candle patterns as footprints. And if I was tracking a bull pasture, and I was tracking this bull through the pasture, and I see that it went kind of over here in this direction, well, it's headed north. The bull is if the bull is headed north, do I want to buy or do I want to sell? Obviously, this is very fundamental. I want to buy. We're tracking the bear, and the bear is headed south. What I want to do. Yeah, so, question for you. Whatever you call these candles, and their patterns are called different things, individual candles are things, but who sells at this level? Who sells level, bull or bears? Nicholas, banks, I'll agree with that. Do banks sell and banks sometimes buy? So at some point, the bank also becomes bearish or bullish. So let's keep it to bulls and bears. Who buys? Who sells? Who sells at this level? Who sells at this level? The bulls, bears. I pause long enough. I know you understand the question. Do you think I can make an argument for both? So imagine if you were the bull. And down here, candles, as a savvy bull, you bought. You opened a position. And you have been watching it run up, and over for 30 minutes, pretty much gone sideways and couldn't close above this level. Then I am thinking I might need to take profits, right? So I bought the open, and I sold that position to close it and put it. But if you're a savvy bear and you see a ton of volume start to come in on that profit tape, and there's a lot of sells stacking up, as a savvy bear, what might you do at the same time? Sell. So if the bulls are selling to take profit and the bears are to open a new position, do you see why the market would then stay back? Maybe not go all the way back down here, but why it would fade back if everybody, bull and bear, starts selling. Different reasons, but it still shows up in the chart. Selling started happening there. If that in itself, that statement in of itself was a revolutionary concept, put a 7 into the chat room. I had never thought about that. Never thought that. So if price can be manipulated, but volume cannot be hidden. What showed up in volume tipped the hand and actually became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh my goodness, we're getting deep now. You know what I think is happening right now at the future? And if you don't know what a fusion center is, you can just Google that later. Okay? That's where the NSA is getting their data. Okay? So everybody over at the fusion center right now is kicking themselves because they didn't go out and buy their 3 subject notebooks so they could be taking notes. Forget the data mining. This guy's actually talking about real stuff. He's talking truth there. And so now they're trying to figure out how they can try and quit their jobs because they're really spying on your data. They would really much rather be enjoying themselves on the beach. So just think of them as that. Well, they're doing a job, right? They believe they're serving your country. And I think in many cases they are. They're helping to make sure that terror things don't come to your front. That's a very good thing to have in place. When it starts getting used to the people that's supposed to be protected for the people, by the people, there might be a problem there. So let's look at the flip side of that. Did you see up here, these 2 candles, time frame, that's midnight. That's 12 King. Do you see that? Midnight King? Night, 12:15. Australian in the first position. Australian in the second position. 12 o'clock, 12 15. Money flows in and out of certain markets, certain times of the day. Who do you think sells at this level? Bulls or bears? Or as we just discussed, both. So the volume started pouring in. The bulls just started taking profit. What flowed into the Australian up here flowed into or out of the Australian down here, right? So if it's going from British pound and yen into Australia on these two, right? Do you remember our arbitrage trade? Did we touch on arbitrage trade last week? I don't remember, Courtney. That might be a future session. Okay, we didn't. I'm getting enough notes. I'm going to guess I didn't touch on it last week. All right. Somebody put it in your notes. Triangular arbitrage, and bring it up Tuesday next week, because that's when we're really going to hammer on it. Okay? But I will give you the skinny on how to figure it. Write AUDJPY in your notes. And then right underneath, write JBPAUD in your notes. Now, look at those two currency pairs, find the currency common, and put an X through it. What's the currency in common? Currency is in both pairs, AUD. Everybody following me? RUD, I'm putting an X through the AUD up here. I'm putting X through the AUD just below it. Now I've got two currencies left. What are they? The ones I didn't put the X through. The GJ. How many sides are there to a 3? Triangular 3. Arbitrage. Finding a third pair that you can do something significant when you want to use master level hedging. That's this concept. We're going to get into it next week. And if you don't remember, to remind me, Courtney will. Okay? That's one of the key things we're going to look at. And it's totally next level understanding. Okay? So, when money into the Australian, it's going to affect this one way, it's going to affect this another way. To make this one run up, it's going to make this one run down. We both understand that with currency strength, right? If the Australian is strong, it's going to tip the scales one way. It's in the next position, first position. It's going to tip tail the other way. It's in the other position. And I just showed you it's actually going to create an effect in the remaining currencies that makes the third pair. So remember, write down in your notes 12, 12, 15, and we'll look at the GJ in just a moment. Okay? So we've agreed that both bulls and bears are going to start selling here because of the volume that increased and started flooding into the market as the Australians started tipping the scales. And over here, to buy the Australian, I have to sell the British pound. To buy the Australian, I'm buying the Australian, and in this case, selling the Japanese yen. Those happen simultaneously, right? But I'm trading pairs. I am buying and selling the second, or selling the first and buying the second. So we'll get back to that and tipping the scales later. So if this started going down, 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 and down, 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 and we get here, same thing, got flat bottom, whatever you want to call this, right now, for lack of another phrase, we're going to call this a flat top. We're going to call this a flat bottom. We're going to explain the significance of that next, okay? But look for them, learn to identify the pattern. If the bear going up and it ran into a fence up here, this is a fence line on the north 40. How far can the bear continue to go north when it runs into a fence? Either got to go over it, got to go under it, or it's going to reverse off of it. Does that make sense? Now we've got a fence that is around the north 40, and it works its way back south until it runs into the southern fence line. We would call that support and resistance. But in this analogy, we're corralling my bear. We're calling it a fence, okay? When it got to this fence line, what happened over here? Did it find a gate? Or is the fence going crooked? It looks like it may have actually found a way to get to the other side of the fence. And now what was once support could be resistance for the last 45 minutes. Now it can't get back to the other side of the fence. It found a hole in the fence and poked its way through, and now it can't find its way back to the other side of the fence. What do we got going on up here? Well, we got the bulls. The bulls, they went from that south fence line to the north fence, and for moments they found more than a hole in the fence. Looks like they found the gate. Could be that gate, though, they came back through it. They're back on the south side of the fence, and they're trying to find a way through because they think that the grass is greener on the other side of this. It's like modern day parables, isn't it, Courtney? This is so fun. All right, so anything that we say there that gives at least a nuance, a new understanding of when money flows out of one, it may flow into another one. There you go. So understand, everyone in here, I am teaching you as a charter member to be a teacher's aide. Who's the teacher? You might say it's me. I'm going to suggest to you that I am the professor emeritus. I am training Courtney to be your instructor. And as long as I can keep him at least 2-3 steps ahead of you on his journey to mastery, can he then continue to impart with you? When you go back into Powerhouse over the weekend, how much more do you think you know about the market even today after 2 sessions with me than the other individuals in Powerhouse? I don't know if you guys have recognized the fact, but there's less of you in here than the totals that are in Powerhouse. You were the mover. So you got the first mover advantage. The charter members are the founding alumnus of this new university Courtney is putting together for you. And I am going to continue to impact and certain ones of you. Now, there's certain ones of you that are going to move through the roof quicker. That's some of you are just, I'm going to say it, you're going to know it, you're going to see the numbers, and once I pull back the curtain and you see that there's nothing there when we got all fearful of the Wizard of Oz, the big bad Forex market, and I pulled back the curtain and you realize just back there moving levers. That's all Oz is. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Just guys bad gals back there that are moving levers and manipulating those prices and taking your loss and put to the copper of the winner. Now we're going to reverse that. We're going to reverse that cut. And you're going to now start taking those losses of someone else and putting it into your account. Now, do you feel guilty if those in the powerhouse that are still losing money and now know and understand how to consistently make money, might you want to tell them, hey guys, next time they're hurt, to make it in for those 3 sessions, has what you learned in here over a couple of sessions been worth everything you paid for it? And then you bet. So now what you can do, you know how you can pay Courtney back? The way to pay Courtney back is to spread word about currency strength analysis, learn it, love it, make it a part of who you are. I want you to answer 2 questions for me next week. Put it in your notes. 2 questions for me next week. Question number 1, can you feel it? If that makes no sense at this point, then you haven't had enough light bulbs to go on yet. You start having synaptic connections fire off and the head starts to heat up a little bit and you realize what you just got your hands on, you're going to think different, you're going to walk different, you're going to talk different, it's going to this eureka experience and all synaptic connections are fired and your head is actually heating up. Can you feel it? I want to create an energy and an excitement within your family, within the individuals that you love and care about, that when you come into this room, you are absolutely feeling it. This room is on fire. Your trading is on fire. The excitement is through the roof with the knowledge that you're now learning. Okay? Secondly, if an individual that you know about, care about, love, maybe somebody inside a powerhouse, maybe somebody that hasn't been introduced to powerhouse yet, asks question, what do you do? By next week, I want you to have simple answers to that question. What do you do? Can you bring that to me? So your answer is going to have to be simple enough to give it to them in a 1 sentence, because some people, it's like, hey, have you ever gone to work? Hey, Courtney, how you doing? Are they really asking you, Courtney, how you are doing, or is that just a passing greeting? Maybe in your neighborhood, it's what's up. They're not really asking. If you have diarrhea of the mouth, see, and you're telling them, well, my doc me, I got a problem with my poop chute. I need to start eating more roughage. And so I started eating more coleslaw. And I was supposed to start using Metamucil. And how long are they going to listen to you about what your doctor just told you about you've got colon? They don't care, right? They don't care. Hopefully you're not going to tell them. But they don't care, right? So if I legitimately ask you, Courtney, man, I've noticed a difference in you these last few times I've talked to you. What is it exactly that you're doing? What is it you do? That's question number 2. If you don't discover anything else over these 4 full sessions that we're going to do together, you need to know, can you feel it? Because if you don't feel it, I'm telling you right now, you're in the wrong place. If you don't feel it by the end of next week, then we're going to have to check your pulse, make sure you're still fogging the mirror, making sure that everything's still okay in your life, and buy you an extra case of Metamucil. And so we'll hook whatever it is that you need, we'll make you up. Because if you're not feeling it by the end of next week, something's probably wrong. Then secondarily, you should be able to tell somebody what you do. For me, here's how simple it is. For me, this is how simple it is. And then we're going to move on to some additional educational, what do we do with that information, right? Imagine with me for a moment that you are in the mall, Big Town, USA, fill in the blank. I don't know where that is, don't know where all of you live. Is there a big mall in St. Louis, Courtney? I would imagine the size of probably a few of them, right? So if you're in Chicago, if you're in, wherever, Big Town, USA, there's a mall. It's the go-to place. It's a happening place, okay? People that are walking around the mall. I've made the mistake in one of my earlier sessions of calling them walkers. You got the walkers. What in today's world, in today's vernacular, when you refer to them as the walkers, what is that? Yeah, the walking dead. That's not what I meant when I was talking about the elderly individuals that are in there walking in a climate control environment where they're simply getting exercise. I was not talking about the zombies. Now, I'm not talking about the mall. Yeah, you get the idea. And so I was corrected quite quickly. No, I'm not talking about the zombie apocalypse. I am talking about the individuals that are exercise walking. Okay? And so I'm a little careful about how I say things. But anyway, so I've got these individuals that are walking around the mall. And if you're walking around the mall in the middle of the aisles, I don't know where you all know the last time you were in a mall, but we're getting ready to go into that Christmas season. And sometimes you can go to the mall, find, that great Christmas gift or whatever it is. So you're at the mall, and in the aisle, between the mall, do you have kiosks in your mall where they're maybe buying, you can buy sunglasses, you can buy jewelry, you can buy, your cell phone, you can, so whatever the kiosks, you know what imagine one of those kiosks, the kiosk. And you see this kiosk, and on the kiosk, you see a screen just like what you have in front of you on a 55-inch big screen. It's colorful. It's interesting. Not sure what to do with that. But you see this screen. You're walking, and right underneath this screen, there is the rolling marquee. You know what a big marquee is? You might see it at a bank, which gives you the time, it gives you the date, it may give you some information about, come in, interest paid on CDs. Yes, it's a rolling marquee in red. It doesn't have to be in red, it could be in white, but it's that digital readout scrolls some kind of a message across the bottom of the screen. Now imagine there's a marquee rolling down there that talks of your brokerage account. That may not be exciting. Let's say it's the balance of my brokerage. Okay? On that little scrolling marquee, it's got the balance of an account. Then you notice you want to engage with the individual that's running the kiosk. They want you to try the perfume. They want you to come over and try. Do you need a massage? They're trying to sell you. Eye contact. or do you instantly find something more interesting to look at the other direction? Because if you make eye contact, oh my God, they sucked me in. They caught my eye. Oh my goodness, don't look them in the eye. Don't look them in the eye. You'll never get out without spending money, right? Exactly. Now, this is something a little bit because I'm not talking. I've just got bright color on my screen. And you notice on the way back down the eye, you come across, there's another big screen TV back to back with the first one, except it's showing people that are walking by. Oh my gosh, I got them surrounded now. They have something. And so, hang on, that balance, I think, went up. Matter of fact, that balance went up significantly. Do you think they might be interested, maybe not interested enough to stop to look at question, but they might be interested. What it is exactly you're doing. They might want to know something. Would be the something they might want to know. What is that? Or what is it exactly? I noticed you're not trying to sell me anything. Seems like everybody else in the mall here is trying to sell me something. It looks like you're doing something there. What exactly are you doing? I'm in Big Mall, USA. I've done this in Canada. I've done this a couple different places. And who, if you saw Courtney and he had his headset, who do you think might be on the other end of a headset with Courtney? Might be his mentor. Might be the individual teaching him how to trade. And what if you could, in a moment's notice, find a trade and extract money at will from these markets in under 5 minutes? One, it would improve your account, right? But it might offer an opportunity to do something with accounts. Okay. Double check something on my end here. All right. So they might be interested. They might be, and they come over there. How long did it take any of you that have the currency heat rate? How long did it take you to download it? A few seconds? Got something under it, right? It's not a very big file. I mean, it happens pretty quick, right? And so imagine if you wanted to do something like this, one, let me put a word out there of caution. There's going to be people that are going to want to know what you're doing. So if you don't want somebody talking to you, then don't try this. Do not try this trick. I am a professional. Do not try this at home. But if Courtney were there and I was speaking in his ear and I was actually showing him how to make money, do you know how many pips this has moved from this high right here, okay? This high? You could go back even a little bit further because I've been talking well, right? But even just this high, when I took this trade at 83.21, and if I needed to drop 5 pips, what is 83.21 minus 5 pips? 83.16. Does everybody see it's kind of at that 83.16? It's been a little bit. Over the last 15 minutes, I've made 5 pips on this. You can see where I could have made, you could have made, we could have made 5 pips on this trade. Do you see if you'd taken a trade the opposite direction, long, somewhere around 79.85. 79.85 plus 5 is what? 79.80 plus 5, 79.90. Do you see that 79.90 is like the top of this wick here? That we could have taken 5 short on this one and 5 long on this one because the Australian is stronger than the British pound and stronger than the yen. Do you see that the Australian is stronger than the British pound and the yen? And that it's created a 5-pip move, and it's created a 5-pip move in this one, and that happened in the last 15 minutes. Now, I don't know what 5 pips and 5 pips does for your account. I don't know that. But I've done this trade enough times that for me, it does depend on the lot size. So for math, let's just do some math on that. My basic trade, I trade 25 lots. $250 a pip, 5 pips. I made how much on each one? 1,250 on the top one, 1,250 on the bottom one, $2,500 past 15 minutes. That's $10,000 an hour, just slightly less than Courtney makes me working. So imagine then if somebody were coming up to you and asking you what it is you do. Yeah, well, it's interesting. Who's teaching it? Where are you talking in your ear right now, Courtney? How do you describe me to your friends? That's question number 3. How do you describe me to your friends? Right now, I'm your educator. From now, it's going to be Courtney is your educator. He's your mentor. So, this is not an attempt to anything other than as a charter member, what I would ask you to do is do you think that Courtney, of the goodness of his heart, should continue this for free for life? Or do you think that he should probably receive some compensation for what he is? Yeah, I think he's a great guy, and I think he would continue to do this. But I think we need to make sure that he is taken care of because of what he walked away from to come here and offer this to you. So you can then pass on the word to the next person, next class, next generation. Now, not to mention, you can teach this to your kids. You can teach this to your grandkids. You can pay it forward. One of the best things that you can do is, one, learn it. Apply it to your life, but then let others know what it's doing in your life. So, if you will, over the weekend, please go into the powerhouse, start making comments along the line Courtney has introduced you to. Fair enough? That's not a sales pitch. Still free. Next week, still free. Whether you do anything, you're already here. You're the charter members. But we want to make sure that Courtney's taken care of so he can stay here, he can keep the wolves off the door, he can keep the doors open, and we can continue to offer this to others. Right? All right, enough said on that. Now, you remember the pair was that we were going to? The DJ. All right, so if this one is going up, that tells me the Japanese yen is weak. Is that correct? and that the British pound weak. Is that correct? What happens when I bring two weak currencies together? How does that look? Now, don't let this scare you. I don't want this to scare you. This is the British pound yen here. Let's first look at it. You remember our frame? What was the time frame we were looking at? You remember? 12 and 12:15. 12 and 12:15. Knowing what you know about these flat bottoms, when it breaks out, right, came into the fence line, through the fence line, where is it expected to go? It can't get through the fence line. Do you see that briefly the British pound, that's what this orange colored line is, was below the yen that was here, and you see the yen started getting weaker, and the British pound went up above it and started getting stronger. So if I have a stronger British pound and a weakening yen, even though they were negative when the Australian and the British pound, we bring them together, and we still got, do we get considerable movement? Who is the buyer at this level? The bulls or the bears? The bulls. The bulls. The bulls of what? The bulls of British pound or the bulls of yen? So we're adding a slightly different dimension here, right? Slightly different dimension. Did we talk about three-dimension trading? Or not, or last week, Tuesday? Three-dimension trading on?
Yeah, we did.
Tuesday.
We did.
Okay. Very good. All right, so we understand then, right? We've got an axis. We have a y axis. Now we've added volume, which is the z, right? So now we put time, price, and volume in the same place. We've got vertical volume. Does anybody see this volume at that 12:15? Does anybody see an increase in volume compared to what we had during all this consumption? So the volume started coming in. And it created this move north, right? What is the distance between this low and this high? You guys remember how to calculate this using the ruler? What is high? 146.4. Low? 146.06. 41 minus 6. 35 pips. With that calculation, what is 35 pips mean? All right, not too shabby, not too shabby. Not quite keeping up with Courtney, but we're getting close. All right. For me, I do not trade 25 lots if I'm going to be in something that long. One is I enter 5 different times. What is 7 times 5? 35. What's the distance between the high and the low? 35. So if I came in and I put an order in here, and 7 pips I put an order in, and 7 pips later I put an order in, and 7 more, then I would have the equivalent of what is 35 plus 28 plus 21, 14 plus 7. $35 plus 8 plus 14. I missed, excuse me. 35 105 should be about 3 times, right? 3 times larger. 35 times 3 is 105 pips. 105 pips. 105 pips. And what I did, I play 25 lots at every level. So let me clear that up. We make the correct calculation. Because when we're dealing with risk management, if we're going to take 5 trades, then what's 25 lots divided by 5? So 5 lots at each entry point. Got to keep the risk management correct, okay? So I've got 5 lots. Now what's 5 lots per pip? So about 50, right? 50 pips, $50. I've got $50 times now 105 pips is my 5,250. I didn't want you to think. But I did it for trades. What do you mean you did it on 4 trades? Because when we were looking, just to back this off so I can see 12:15. I have to back this off so I can see the 12:15. When you're looking at arbitrage, did we talk about basket trades last week? All right,
No, no baskets.
Yeah. All right, so multiple entries, basket trades. Multiple entries, basket trades. If I took 5 trades and spaced them 7 pips apart, do you think that falls category of multiple trades? Right? I took 5 different entries, 7 pips apart. That meant I took 5 trades in one pair. But what if I did the same thing in 4 different pairs because of the weakness in the yen? When I was watching this, is the yen weak right now? So up here, I've got the yen is weak against the euro. The yen is weak against the British pound, is weak against the Australian dollar. The yen is weak against the Canadian. Did you know that many times when money starts out of something, it moves all ships? You ever heard that phrase, the tide raises all ships? When the yen is selling off, it rises because it's in the second position. Remember, yen is always in the quote, the second position. So if yen is weak, everything's running higher. If yen is strong, thing is running lower. Put that in your notes if it's not already there. Now let's look at 12 to 12:15. Okay, right here. 12. If you notice, the cursor is at 12 in every one of these charts. 12, 12:15. 12, 12:15. When the money started coming into these other currencies and flowing out of the yen. So how many pips? Take any one of these we want to. Let's take the euro yen up here. At the 12:15, if we were to come in somewhere around 128.50. Courtney, did we talk about quarters theory?
No.
Okay. Put that in your notes for next week as well. So I'm not going to be able to give you all series in one night, to be putting some of them. Next week's about trading, right? I'm telling you what I'm going to tell you. Now I'm starting to get into the stage of telling you. What's next week? We're going to be talking about what I told you. By next week, we're going to be referring to it as last week. Remember what I told you last week when I'm talking to you next Tuesday. So these are the things we're going to bring back up. So if we had come in at 128.50 and played 128.75, that's 25 pips. Does everybody agree with that? Quick calculation there. 128.50 to 128.75, 25 pips divided by 5. 25 pips divided by 5. 5 pips. So if I come in at a new every 5 pips, then I would have to add 25 plus 20 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5 equals 75 pips. Does everybody get that? 25 plus 20 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5 is 75 pips. I get 75 pips on a 5-pip move. I don't have to find something that's going to run 100 pips. I don't have to find something that's going to run 50 pips. If it moves 20 and I do multiple entries, what's 20 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5? Is that not 50 pips? You find a currency pair that moves 20 pips and bank it for 50. Can you move just 5 pips higher? Find one that moves 5 pips higher and you make 75 pips. Oh my goodness, Courtney, I think they're starting to feel it. So if I get 50 pips here, 50 pips, 50 pips here, and 50 pips here, I now have heads. 200 pips. 200 pips times $50. Oh, mercy. All right, we've got about 2 minutes. It's about 15 minutes. And what we want to do with that 15 minutes is questions and answers. You still may be at the point, I'm just too new to know. You've blown my mind. I don't even know. If your mind is going to be swimming all weekend, but you're thinking, if I don't get one question answered, it's going to bug me all weekend long. Then I want to take the opportunity to field a couple of questions. Study, study, study.
If you have a question, participants, and raise your hand. Let's do it verbally tonight. So just I'll come to you and I'll unmute you.
Sounds good. So if you got the question, raise your hand. Point of control setting, that's a good one, Troy. So I will start into the process of point of control. That may be some new information, may not be some information, it may be clarification of things we talked about last week. The onions, that's the first one we started on, that was our triangular arbitrage trade. One of the changes that maybe was made that you may have not identified is one, this is TradingView Pro. So that's what we're going to be working on for this TradingView Pro. Inside of your volume profile, you got built-ins. Even for free, you have built-ins. Public library and scripts. Under volume profile, you have two options. Session volume is what we're talking about. Session volume uses this point of control, POC, point of control. Get into it a lot next. We're just going to talk about the setting this week because I know the trader, he may be using it between this week and next week. So I want to go ahead then. One, I'm going to drop down. If you take the plus sign and we're negative sign, it actually drops some of my calculations down. If I go here and highlight it and look inside it, then I look at style and the POC. I also use what's known as a developing value area. And I shifted it from left is default, to right. So then even on a smaller chart, when I drop it down in size, I see I'm building towards the volume. I'm building towards the volume. Instead of having it over here on the left, where if the chart's too small, all I see line. I have to see all of it. Okay? So I shift placement from left to right, and I put the developing VA, that's these purple lines, magenta colored lines, to let me see what I'm building towards. Then the actual input on it is I have a 24 row, I'm value area of ND, and I'm extending the POC right. That might not mean much to you, and then I obviously click default, save it as the default, and hit OK. To be talking about when this breaks out, think of these purple lines as the fence. When it gets to the other side of the fence, it has difficulty. It's like walking up steps. It's trying to find the break or the gate to get back below the fence or back inside the pasture. Okay? And so that's one of the things that we lose, the value area high, value area low, and as it builds towards the new value area. You need to know if you're above value area high or below area low. That's about all we're going to cover on that, right? Answer, Troy? Super. All right. I see a couple hands there, John. Who are you going to open up first?
Hey, thanks for being here. Clear time.
Absolutely.
Was questioning. I've been looking on a lot of the things that we love, and I was noting you've kind of hinted on it tonight, is picking out a great to look at certain. Are you going to go a little more in depth other times of the day? That's a good place to or good to look at for that change of which one will get.
Absolutely. And so what you're going to put in your notes, and you're going to begin next week, if I don't adequately, is banker open, bankers close, and who's on lunch break.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm coming to you, Mr.
Hey, thank you. I have about the level hedging. I took that, and I was very curious how that got traded.
Masking is going to affect your trade more after you have an account of significant size to protect. You can hedge it in any size of account. But let's just absurd. Let's just get absurd. If you have a $20 account and you leverage to the hill, and you're going to try to make $5 or $10, a 25 to 50% return, you're not going to have enough money left to hedge.
Right. Right.
But a $2 million account, go to the other extreme. You got a $2 million account and you're trying to make $250,000 today. Then you got plenty of equity to work with, and you're going to get into master hedging that is going to be somewhat insurance. Even if you blow this trade, you don't blow your accounts.
Gotcha. Oh, thank you.
You bet. And then there's going to be things that fall in risk appetite that'll make it to where you can kind of gauge how much hedging, how much protection do I need. And we'll get into some risk appetite information next week.
See what's raised. We'll click again and then think, oh, fuck, oh, else. All right, we'll come into it right
We're working on unmuting Michael. There he is.
How you going? Quick. I have systematic entries when you're doing like 5 on each pair. How do you do that?
Quick glimpse, we'll call it a quick trick trade. Is the euro stronger than the yen right now? Chief technician.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you're stronger than the yen. Show you a way to get actual. No, you're going to have access to his matrix, the same idea. We talked about I've lost every 5 ticks, and I want above and below the buy, and I want to close it when 75. And when I hit, it was a drop down, it was a battery clicks, and it knows to put buy limits for the current price and stops above the price. And so and I have trades pending on where this price goes. And it's click on down, and I'm in 11 trade or 1 trade and 10. And I can do a couple trades at one time.
Wow.
letting all it back to me.
Make you go, if nothing.
Thanks for your question. I really appreciate making more than you should tonight. Good job.
You're welcome.
I think we got time for maybe one more question.
I see you with your hand up. I don't see. Where did you go? All right, go ahead.
Hey, appreciate Clint. I just had 2 quick questions on the app. The notions it says giving us alerts. Does that work or it doesn't work? I mean, getting any notifications for like alert notifications, if you know what I'm talking about.
It's still kind of in obstruction mode, and it is working. Some of it's not working some of the time it works. If you have it on like an iPad on your computer.
Okay.
And so if we did BlueStacks last week, some of you heard of it and didn't have any luck with it. But if you use BlueStacks and download on your computer, you can take that same map and put on your computer screen, like I'm showing you right here.
Okay.
When I get different signals, it does pop up on the screen, and it'll tell me U.S. dollar was weak at the end of market and into the London session, and whatever I think. It will give me a different information. You can actually set up, when it's done, you'll set it up to send an alert to your smartphone, to your watch, to your whatever the case may be, that will literally give you to tell you what to do next. I won't go any further than that.
Okay, I gotcha. And the other thing is, I have these actions on my app, and it won't go away. Like it's telling me outages or something. I don't know how to get that off. Is there? I don't know if you're talking about.
And that's me trying to contact you like 11 times last week. I was wondering why you weren't answering.
All right.
If you log back in, sometimes it will drop in. Sometimes you actually have to dump the cache.
So one more time, back out and log back in.
And sometimes you have to physically go in and clear out cache, the cookies and things that are up inside your file.
Oh.
And we'll show a little bit on how to do that. If we don't get it next week, then when we take it to the next level, we will.
Okay, thank you.
The currency heat wave application. Really, the two on the screen, really for the most right now, and I sometimes don't remember which one I'm teaching. We're not utilizing the web analyzer in this system, and so right there, this. And we bring this over like this time that we're in here. You're going to see one on the trading view, the multiple charts on the trading view, and you see this currency heat wave path. So when we're talking about a chart, talking about Trading View Pro. When we are talking about the currency heat wave path. Now there's other things we'll introduce, but they're not when we get to the advanced. And we're believe it or not, just getting warmed up. And we really are only the surface of fundamental. We haven't even on anything that's revolutionary intermediate. This is fundamental understanding at this point. It's advanced to anything else we're seeing out there, but it's the foundational understanding of things you're going to need to know. And I think I saw somebody once that put the heading on the notebook, if I'm multi-subject notebook, once you use that. So when I'm telling you stories and I'm getting you to think parables, and I'm getting you to think outside the box, that's mindset. Everything in there is under mindset, okay? When we talk about something that's going to be along the idea of fundamentally what's going on in the market. Fundamentally is things with economic calendar, to actually get into trading and moving forward. Step number one, fundamentally to know about this market, this currency, what news announcements are going to be coming out, those type of things. Imagine if we can have you ready to step into the next level by non-farm payroll. On-farm payroll. The last 2 Fridays, we've done non-farm payroll. We made $100,000 in under 10 seconds on my account. And so if we could get things up to where you could at least watch when that happens, it's fun to watch. If I could show you, now that'll be outside of this class, that's moving into more advanced class, but that's something that interests you. We're going to be talking over the next week of now where do we go for the next step? What do we do next? That's category number 2, fundamentally. Category number 3, that's the technical on the POC, like Troy asked. What's the setting or sense of the way you set the currency strength indicator? What is so technical information? And then you're answering 3, right? Price, volume that we're looking at, but we're answering 3 questions. Fundamental tells me what the market should do. Technically, it tells me where it should go. And then market sentiment or currency flow tells me when it should get. So Imagine if you what, where, and when a move is going to happen, how much that would end for all trading. And that's it. We're at the half hour, so we're going to wind it down, because if I start answering more questions, I will make it to my next session. So I'm going to go ahead and mute out. I'm going to go to you, Courtney. You do with them what you will.
Thank you, Clint, for another phenomenal session. Everybody, please, once again, give Clint virtual round of applause by putting $signs in the comments. But you appreciate him, so he'll keep showing up, not just for you, but the classes that are coming after you. A really, really great point. It's very important that you just don't take this information and you apply it to your life, but you're spreading the word on your personal Facebook page and also in the Powerhouse, or as what we're doing here. So I will encourage you all to post in the Powerhouse about what you're learning, about the CSA 5-step system, hashtag Powerhouse as well. When you're posting your private pages, tag so people know exactly where you're getting the information from, because it's very important. It's very important for overall growth and success. Our mission is to reach a lot of people, and we cannot reach those people if it's to yourself. Right? So the information you've gotten to this point has been free. Next week is free. I mean, we're free content in the Powerhouse on top of all of this information you've learned already. We have a lot in store for you, but we want to make sure that you're committed to us like we're committed to you. And the way that you show us that is by sharing this information. We see the people that's sharing. We see the people that's putting it out there, and we appreciate you, and we thank you. And I thank you for those that have not shared, but that will share. And if you're committed to doing that, if you're sharing, hashtagging CSA system, hashtagging Powerhouse on your personal Facebook page, can you just drop some two in the comments to let us know that you're gonna kind of lock horns with us, to people know, because we're gonna have another cohort of classes. Of students coming up in November. So there's gonna be a class coming behind you that's gonna be just get started in November. And we need to get the word out so they know, to first Powerhouse, so they can get access, but two, in the Powerhouse, they need to know that this information is very valuable, and the only way we can do that is with your help. So, so that's what we ask of you at this point. We ask you to help us with the word, so we can spread the good. This is great news. Just think about what you know. Think about some of the things that you've seen tonight that you've never seen before. Think of the concepts. You're planting seeds in your minds. Now you're going to go do some research and study. You're going to be better. And you already are better based on what you know already. You don't know that you're better, but I know that you're better, because now you understand how to look at the market. And you understand that there's a different level. More than anything, you understand that there's levels to this. You are literally, like Clint said, not even touching the surface of what's possible. You're not even touching the surface of what's possible, but think how much you've learned under the, like not even to think about where you are today compared to where you were yesterday and where you were a month ago. So we got a long way to go. We're very excited. There's a lot of energy. We have a lot of momentum. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of buzz. But we're just not. This is not about hype. This is about results. This is about elevation. This is about transformation. This is real work. I'm happy that some of you are locking in to be a part of something that we believe is going to change people's lives all over the entire world. This is just the beginning. So thank you all. I really appreciate you. Appreciate me. If you appreciate Clint, you can show us that in your Facebook post. And we really appreciate you guys. And we will be back Tuesday night. Same time, 9:30 Central Time. Check in. We'll start p.m. Central Time next Tuesday. finish your books. You have the whole weekend, you guys, or whatever it is. Finish your books. Even if you haven't ordered the book, I've sent you the book. I've sent you already. So there's really no excuse not to have these books done, or at least done by Tuesday. So finish the book. Read for comprehension. Don't just read the term pages. Read for comprehension, not pages. Hey, I love you guys so much. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Appreciate the hard work. We see you, and we appreciate you. You guys have a blessed night. Clint, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, my friend. I really. Everybody have a good night.